Good morning, YouTube. Adjustable arrow fork rest. Okay, this bow is heavy, by the way. So hopefully you got a good view of that. We'll bring it back up in a minute, don't worry. So that's the same fork rest style that had come with my Martin Magnum Phantom bow years ago that a friend of mine had given me. It's also long gone, unfortunately. It was a nice bow. The fork rest, initially for me, when I started using it, at least it was on a left-handed bow, which worked out even better. It did kind of drive me a little bonkers for a bit because, hey, nobody told me even how to properly shoot a bow back in the day, and I've been shooting bows since I was a little wee kid. But I kind of love archery. Silent and deadly. Great for hunting. Hey, traditional hunters are traditionally hunting with bows, but we do hunt with guns too, so hey, what the hell, right? Anyway, so I decided to change the rest over from the Whisker Biscuit, mainly because I needed that Whisker Biscuit for my for my Matthews bow, sorry, because that Octane Biscuit pretty much is bitten the dust. So, and the Trophy Ridge that was on here was still perfect. So anyway, I thought, well, I got a few options for rests, and I've been wanting to put this on something, because I did have an awful lot of bows last year. I spent way too much stupid money on archery, and now I'm down to basically my my Matthews bow, which is for pretty well everything. This one, not sure. We'll see. Not for hunting though, but either way, I did upgrade the sight to a Fatal 4 as well on this thing, which also supports a light. If you want to, it's got the little bubble like all the others do, all that jazz. Anyway, but I thought, you know what, I've got this fork rest, and I at least know that I can set this one up without any hassle, because I only had one other option in my box, and it's like, I really am not a huge, massive fan of that rest. So, and this is going to last literally forever, okay? So it's kind of like, might as well use the good stuff, right? So this was under 40 bucks off of Amazon. They do make them for left-handed bows and right-handed. This is the left-hand version on a left-handed bow, obviously. And you cannot flip them, by the way. So make sure you order the appropriate one for whether your bow is left or right-handed. Because I had a boo-boo that was on me. I had to send the other one back and get the appropriate one when I finally found the proper right-up. Because even though the original said left, it ended up being right. And it's like, and I tried to flip it around, got it, and everything. Nope, not gonna happen. So, to get this thing onto the Stinger, we had to undo this screw, and we had to push this whole unit in flush with the bracket. Now, one thing I can tell you I love about the Stinger, it actually has a little kind of an insert there, so that any rest you put on, the bar will be 100% dead perfect. So then you just got to worry about your ups and down on your rest and your left and rights on it, and then of course screw with your sights after. And I didn't have to really play that much at all with the sight, just a little bit on the windage, a little tiny bit on the elevation, and this thing is hitting within a 3-inch bullseye at 20 yards. So we're good to rock and roll. And my pins are set for 20, 30, 40, and 50. All right, 4-pin sight. Anywho, so the other thing I had to do is pull this screw out, and there's about 4 screw holes here for alignment for being able to go in and out, because you have to have your arrow dead center in the center of your rest, which one screw hole outward, perfect. But I also had to make sure this was also all the way in too. Otherwise I'd be out more screw holes, and it's like, but this is also nicer that it's more flush. Did have to adjust my quiver to push it up higher so I could still access this, especially when there's no arrows in here. But, I still had to either way, or my quiver wasn't even going to go on. But you can take your quiver right off, and that exposes everything. And you adjust the pressure. Tells you left and right. Okay, so if you crank it in, well, it's going to stiffen it up. If you crank it counterclockwise, it's going to loosen it up. Okay, and I've got this set to work with my arrows. And that's the other thing about these fork rests. Now the forks are also adjustable too if you need to adjust the balance on them. They may or may not be correct when you get it. I had a little bit of adjustment that I played with on these things, so now they're like They sit the arrow in there really nice, okay? Now, there is a frustrating part to this style of a fork rest. The biggest frustration is you cannot walk around with a loaded bow because your arrow is going to either go on the inside or flop to the outside. And I used to hate that on my Phantom bow with that fork rest, which is the same style as this, until I got used to it. But once I got used to it, I was fine. And back in the day, I was not hunting. I just started hunting for the first time last year, and I'm in my 50s. It's like, well, if you're gonna have a midlife crisis, might as well get into hunting. No, I'm just kidding. It's a lot better than, you know, other alternatives that can get you a divorce. But anyhow, my little joke on there. But yeah, they are nice rests, and once they are dialed in, they work rather well. Now, this is a coated arrow, so if you have any kind of coating on your arrow, you may want to make sure that this is a lot stiffer. And the way to check everything realistically is to knock up an arrow, get it in there, and then what you'll do is you'll push down and up, and if it keeps coming all the way back up to top, you know that there's enough pressure on that spring to keep you up and on center. Because, and if you go too high, of course, that creates a problem where, well, you're gonna mess with your sight. So you want to have that natural balance as best as you can, and so adjusting your tension is a good idea. Now, a non-coated arrow wouldn't need as much pressure to keep it up, and you'd be able to tell that by lowering the pressure and figuring out where the nice sweet spot is so that it launches off the rest absolutely perfect, right? So where I have this set up with a coated arrow, because I like using these Atmos arrows with the bow, because they're also 520 grain, so they can whop out some good you know, horsepower, even though speed wise they're only about 200 feet per second off of here, and that's at about a 58-pound draw, but they do collect a lot of energy, okay? So I do like them. They work, and they are a 500 spine. So but yeah, making sure that height is good. The other thing is your center line. PSE and a lot of other manufacturers actually embed a center line onto the rest. So this way it's a no-brainer to go, up, I'm dead center, perfect. Okay, which means you also don't necessarily need a laser kit to know that you're dead center. So you can eyeball that dead center and be right bang on. So, and that means you got to pull this screw right out and pull this unit out to the next screw hole in the alignment. There's, I believe, about 4 holes on this one. So I only had to move it out 1, and then I had to undo this screw, push this all the way in flush, and I am perfect dead center. Okay, so my adjustments for my elevation and my windage were like really minor. Okay, so, and I made sure I did that at 20 yards because that's my top pin anyway, which I use the most. Okay, I have to recheck my 30, 40, and 50, but I should be close enough in the neighborhood. I should be okay, but at least I won't have to do any kind of a windage adjustment because it's bang on. So yes, I fired a bunch of arrows through here already. Yeah, I like the rest, but it does take getting used to. And you know, once you realize that you can't you know, walk around with a loaded bow unless you want to just leave it in there and then walk around, then just flip it up, you could probably get away with doing that. But otherwise, yeah, it's a unit style that, yeah, you have to load it when it's time, kind of thing. So, and depending on what you're hunting, depends on whether or not this will make a practical rest for you or not. Grouse hunting, you probably want a whisker biscuit. Then it's already loaded, ready to go, pull back, boom. Deer hunting, bear, moose, elk, whatever, just load it when you need it, kind of thing. You don't need to walk around with a loaded bow for that. However, for under 40 bucks Canadian, it's on Amazon. You can get them for left or right-handed bows. Overall, they're fantastic rests. They will last through eternity, and you'll be good to go. If you do need to adjust the fork width up front, you do have adjuster screws here that you can loosen off, and then you can play a little bit with that fork. and do what you need to do, okay? But just remember, your arrow has to sit there proper. It can't be too deep or you get a catch. It can't be too high or, well, it becomes a pointless thing. So you got to kind of find that flavored spot, which this one's already set at, so I never have to touch a thing again with these arrows, at least as far as my spring tension goes. But I definitely don't have to touch anything for anything else. So otherwise, I'd say it's good to go. Just keep one other thing in mind with a fork rest like this. When you are nocking an arrow, we all have that offset vane, fletch, feather, whatever you want to call them. The offset must point down. If you point the offset up, then there's not enough room here for the other ones to glide over the forks, and it's going to be a living nightmare. Okay, been there, done that. Okay, so you must have your offset feather, whatever one you're going to use, pointing to the bottom, and you're good to rock and roll. Okay, and that's it. So anyway, price is good, lasts forever, which is another thing, because even Whisker Biscuits and other types of rest don't. Has some good practicalities to it, has some drawbacks, can't carry a loaded bow with you, but overall I'd say it's worth about a good, I would give this thing literally a, I would have to say 4.25 out of 5. Now I'm kind of happy with that and can still say I recommend it. It's just this rest will not be for everybody. That is definitely a certain thing. Okay, it does have that drawback of there's no way you're carrying around a loaded bow with this thing. That's the other drawback for you. If you enjoy carrying around a bow that's already loaded, this ain't gonna do it for you. It's gonna be too much of a pain in the nut. Okay, but easy to set up, easy to install, no problems there. You may get absolutely lucky depending on your bow and not even have to do anything for your sight. I just had a very minute adjustment. When I mean minute, just to make sure everything was dead centered, left, right, up and down at the target end and at this end. Everything's perfect, so it was so minor. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it, and nothing's perfect anyway, so there you go. See you in the next one. Ciao.